Okay, lesson 4. In lesson 4 we're doing a review of arithmetic, and we're going to start off with some vocabulary words that we've seen before. The first one is counting numbers, and remember another name for counting numbers would be natural numbers. Both mean the same thing. In counting numbers, if I were going to count the number of students in the class, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 25 students in the class, well, those are counting numbers. They start with 1, and they continue on. 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 and we continue on to show our pattern within our braces there. The sets are always shown within braces, and a set would be like counting numbers. Whole numbers, well, whole numbers could be like how many students are in the room. Maybe there's 5 students in the room, but maybe there's 0 students in the room right now. So whole numbers include 0 as well as those 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. We'll show our set of whole numbers within our braces. In integers, well, picture this number line below because all of these are integers. So this would be a good definition for you if you were to write it down. These are all integers. Okay? -1 is an integer, -8 is an integer, 4 is an integer, 0 is an integer. If we looked at this number, -5.5, that's not a tick mark on our number line. That is not an integer. An integer is like a whole number, but it can be positive or negative. So that last one will undo because it doesn't belong there. And when we're reviewing arithmetic, we're looking at our basic operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. In this first problem, 2/3 times 4.5, just a simple, straightforward fraction multiplication problem. So remember, we're going to multiply 2/3 times 4.5. And we don't multiply the mixed number part, so we're going to multiply 2 times 4 to get 8, plus 1 is 9, so we get 9 halves, that's the same thing as 4.5, and then we're going to multiply through. Of course, here we can simplify the 2's. 2 divided by 2 is 1 over 1, so we're going to get 9 over 3, and that's 3 over 1, because 9 divided by 3 is just 3, and we're left with our final answer. Multiply straight across the top, 1 times 3 is 3, straight across the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. We get 3 over 1, which must be equal to our answer of 3. And we're all done with this problem. If we look at our next problem, we've got 47 and 123 thousandths plus 863 hundredths. Okay? Now when we do these problems, the most important part about it is to line up the decimal point. When I say line up the decimal point with an exclamation, I mean it, because you have to do that in order to get these problems correct. 47.123, we're going to add these and we're going to add them vertically, plus 800.63. Notice those decimal points are exactly lined up, so we keep all of our place values lined up. We're going to add a 0 onto the end of 0.630. So we've got all of our place values filled, and then we're just going to add. We're going to get a 3, a 5, a 7. Decimal point comes straight down, and then we must get 800 plus 47 must be 847. So we've got our final answer of 847 and 753 thousandths as our answer. Let's do some multiplication and division here. 3.1 times 1.1. Okay, if we're going to multiply 3.1 times 1.1, we set them up vertically, and when we multiply decimals, it doesn't matter if the decimals line up. This is just a coincidence, because we're going to multiply just like we would if there were no decimals. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Add our 0 as a placeholder. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Now we're going to add in order to figure out what our answer is. We must get 341. But that can't be right because we have decimal points. And to work with those decimal points, and that's the key thing that we have in this lesson, is making sure we get these decimal points in the right spot in our answer. Over 1, over 2, because 1 plus 1 is 2. So we've gone over 2 total. So we're going to go over 2 total, 1 and 2. What happens up here in total matches what happens down below in total. So we get an answer of 3.41. Or 3 and 41 hundredths. And we're all done with our first problem. If you've got a question, go ahead and write it down. Now our second problem, 4.028, divided by 0.04. The division isn't that hard, but we need to make sure that we always move that decimal point out of our divisor. So we're going to move it over once, twice. What we do in the divisor, we do in the dividend, once, twice. So we're going to get a new problem. And that new problem is 402.8, because the decimal moved over to here. 402.8 divided by 4. And now we can go through our division steps in order to find our answer. Decimal comes straight up, that's a good first step. 4 goes into 4 one time, we've got 4. Subtract, we have 0 left over. 0 comes down, 4 goes into 0, 0 times. We've got a 2, 4 goes into 2, 0 times as well. We bring down the 8, 4 goes into 28, 7 times. Here goes the train if you can hear it in the background. We're going to subtract, and we've got 0 left over. So we've got our final answer. Our final answer must be 107/10. And we're all done. Those problems can be tricky when we're dividing by a decimal, but remember to move the decimal out of the divisor. Same thing in the dividend, and then go ahead and divide straight through. Okay, our next type of problem and our last type of problem in this lesson is to use 1 unit multiplier. So we'll add that m in there, multiplier, to convert 36 feet to miles. Now, 36 feet is not going to be very many miles. We know that because there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. And you should know that. You live in the Mile High City, or you live very close to the Mile High City of Denver, which is about 5,280 feet elevation. That's a conversion or a unit multiplier that we need to know. So if we want to convert 36 feet to miles, we can say 36 feet. We're going to use 1 unit multiplier. So what we're going to do using that unit multiplier is set up our fraction, and we know feet has to cancel with feet. So 36 feet over 1, feet in the numerator, feet in the denominator, feet will now cancel. We now have miles in the numerator. So we know there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So we're going to get our answer now. We know this is going to be 36 times 1 is 36. 1 times 5,280 is 5,280. And we can find our answer from here. From here, a good way to find our answer would be to reduce. So let's cut these both in half first. We're going to get 18. We're going to cut 5,280 in half. What is that? You should have said 2,640. We're going to cut those both in half. Okay, they're both even numbers. We're going to get 9 over, what's half of 2,640? 1,320. Okay, 1,320 is definitely divisible by 3. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 2 more is 6. We know 6 is divisible by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 1,320 divided by 3. Well, 3 goes into 13 4 times. We get 12 with 12 left over. So 3 goes in 4 times. Okay, and we've got a 0 that we have to fill. We've got 12, we've got 0 left over, so 440. 3 over 440. Now this is as far as we can reduce this answer. This is one way that we could report this answer. But it would be a little bit confusing because I've never heard somebody say that the answer is going to be 3 over 440ths of a mile. So we could say that is our final answer, but an easier way. An easier way will be to say this. We're going to say 36 over 5,280 miles. And you can leave your answer just like that. That's a perfect way to report it in this lesson. If you'd like to turn it into a decimal, you may, but you do not have to. We're all done. Okay, we're going to look at our lesson practice, page 21 through 22, next class. Hope you have a nice evening. Make sure you got all your notes completed.